our theme is going to be Jesus power. But Jesus power and having Jesus power doesn't mean you accept Christ and all of a sudden, as soon as you accept Christ, you have this incredible strength and you can go climb Mount Everest, or you can go swim the English Channel, or in my case, like, I've never benched more than 365. Doesn't mean I'm going to bench 400. I'm going to die. If I try and bench 400 pounds and there's nobody else in the gym, or 405 or whatever it is, that bar is going to fall on me. It's going to collapse in my chest. I accepted Christ. That doesn't mean I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I'm going to pump 400 pounds up. It's not going to happen. So I believe Jesus' power, and Pastor Kyle, you can speak on this in a minute, I believe Jesus' power is more about contentment than personal achievement. So when Paul, the Apostle Paul, who wrote Philippians and wrote so many books in the New Testament, when he says he could do all things through Christ who gives him strength, he's talking about being content in his situation, and you have to look at his circumstances. Now, Paul he was Saul, he was murdering Christians.
That's right.
And he then became one of the greatest disciples, writing most of the New Testament, and he did it a lot from behind bars in prison.
Correct.
So if our prison ministry was back in that time, I could have played softball against Paul.
You could have.
You know, he probably would have struck me out because he had that real Jesus power. So he was beaten, he was starving, he was worn down, but he was content because he had faith in Christ. So that's Jesus power.
Yeah.
And many athletes quote Philippians 4:13 as a rallying cry, and they use it as motivation for overcoming an obstacle. But if Paul was right in that verse for athletes, in the context of what he was going through, it may have said something like, I can accept winning or losing graciously because of the strength I have as a Christ follower.